is actually the changes in N26. A co-founder Stalf leaves the CEO role after the investor role. So what do you think? Like, it's August time, it's change time, preparing for the business season.
Yeah, Valentin Stalf resigned from his position. Valentin is the co-founder and co-CEO of N26. That proves that there are big tensions inside of N26 regarding regulations, regarding next path, next steps that N26 has to do. Mostly because BaFin is looking and supervising N26 quite hardly, not in direct management like in other German fintech companies, but it's under supervision. So provides that mostly this is a result of findings that BaFin found in 2024 was an audit, late 2024 was an audit. That was quite a big findings, and seems like not all the findings are okay, or possibly not all the findings were solved. Who knows? What do you know about this?
I cannot judge about the weakness between BaFin and the business, because you need to see the insights, you need to understand the threats, the procedures. It's pretty unique per company, I would say. But what I've seen personally, quite strange movements with the UK market, because it's more understanding of the cultural differences between countries and people. Because coming with the German processes to United Kingdom, it was a lot of discussions with the local people, how even KYC with the liveness check without any like a notes that you're going to talk with the real person instead of just recording the video for the liveness check, was freaking out people in UK. And it shows like this, I would say, slight misunderstanding and maybe a little bit misconcepts. So maybe something is there. And I would like additionally add that actually it's not only Stalf is leaving the role. Another co-founder, who is Steinthal, is also out by the end of the year. And it seems that is really like a big unsolvable problem happening between the board, investors, and founders. And it shows, and I think it brings me to the idea that actually heard it by working with one company almost 15 years ago from United States. And the investors, they overtook the role of the CEO, and the new CEO was introduced to the company. And he said, like, CEOs, they usually working with a specific range of the company. Like certain CEOs are entrepreneurship, are they like starting the business? A certain are growing, I don't know, from 10 million to 50 millions. And certain CEOs can take the business and grow from 50 millions to, I don't know, $1 billion revenue. So I think maybe that what we see is some kind of cliff, or the stage where the company overgrown the co-founders, and they had to be changed to drive more the business value and drive more innovations in the company. I think it's a good move, but let's see how it will influence the product itself.
I think it's a little bit different because fintech industry was ahead of banking, classical banking industry by, agility, by the ability to grow fast and to onboard customers and to provide, quick banking service. But now Germany is an example how fintech companies from fast growing companies are transforming and standardizing under like real bank companies. And this, the regulations that come from BaFin or, push that come from BaFin or other regulators can demonstrate that fintech companies, big fintech companies that act with banking license, they have to change the approach. They have to be more stable. It shows that the priority, so not the priority, but even the existing of a company currently is not based on fast growing. It's based on regulation. It's based on the basement of the processes. And this leadership recalibration, I think, demonstrate the fact that fintech companies in Germany entered in the era of transformation and more strictly regulated, to look more close like a classical bank.
And maybe additionally, we should keep an understanding or into the account the echoes from Wirecard, because Wirecard was another company that was, as a startup, growing fast, overviewed by BaFin, but in the end of the day, certain millions or billions of dollars of euros vanished, and no one knew how it happened. So maybe those echoes still in the room, and people don't want to have the similar situation. And actually it brings us to the second use, is about the stablecoins in China, because that's a really interesting case. So what do you think about that?
It's not an obvious link between N26 and transformation from fintech into classical bank to China's yuan on stablecoins. but it's linked to the fact that yuan itself is not a free convertible currency. And yuan and stablecoins raise questions how it can work. So Igor, can you share your thoughts? Can you share your insights, maybe even how it can work or how possibly it will not work even?
So in this case, the analogy can be with the cash. So when you are minting the cash, you have something which is tangible and you can pass from one person to another one. Yeah, we definitely have the processes when you're opening an account, and if you're withdrawing the cash, you're running through the person identification, and the third party cannot get this cash from your account. What I think is important to understand that actually tokenized non-fiat currencies, they allowing to move the funds between wallets rather than bank accounts. It means that even if your account and wallet is KYC'd, in the end of the day, you can send to any other wallet, which is not really checked. And there is a lot of services which are allowing to do in the mixer, like a cleaning the root. And even we discussed this news a couple of months ago, like a North Korea hacker group had a chance to steal from the cold wallet around $2.4 billion, and no one traced where it's ended up. So it's really hard to follow the money. It's much harder compared to digital money, like what we see in MEI, because regulators overseen and technically the clearing houses are in control of the regulator, which is kind of different with the blockchains. Potentially opens the ability to convert yuans to other currencies more freely for Chinese people. But let's see, the devil is in details. But it shows a lot of appetite to follow the recent technologies, and maybe this one will bring more freedom to China currency.
Electronic yuan based on stable coins. So that the Chinese government have different expectations from this project. First is insertion of liquidity in Chinese economy from the trade exports. Second is giving possibility for Chinese exporters and Chinese businessmen to work easier with a country that are partially blacklisted or with regions that are in red flags or are in under sanctions, because we know that Chinese businessmen they can work easily with different parts of the world. It can provide a good example for other countries, even countries with harsh dictatorship, that this project also can work. I think I also don't understand how it will work with stablecoins logic and mixed with a Chinese Chinese willing of controlling everything, controlling the money, controlling the yuan itself. But seems like they need two things. One is the insertion of liquidity. And to be honest, I made a small research, and very quickly research on the internet, and I saw that exists a quite good appetite for this project on the investor side. So seems like it will provide insertion of liquidity. And second, it will provide much more flexibility for exporters or businessmen, Chinese businessmen, to work with different regions around the world. Maybe insertion of smart contracts and push the deals to be done much more faster, to be done faster, or possibly Chinese is preparing for some security issues that they possibly evaluate that can happen in future. But yeah, we will see.
So let's move to the third news. And actually, India passes the bill to ban money-based online games. And actually, it has been passing the parliament and government. And what do you think about that?
Well, India is a very interesting market. I have a personal, not interest, watching Indian market quite a lot. This news, when I read it, I understood that will be a big shift in the market. Possibly, as you, Igor, mentioned, that this is just an instrument for some debates and negotiations that are happening somewhere behind the closed doors. And my impression is that, well, to be honest, Indian gaming, so we have to be very cautious not to use word gambling but gaming, specific classical games on the, Android or iOS terminals. So this industry in India is a big one. It's a huge one. Small games with maybe not the best UI UX, but to pass them you need to pay to add some small amount of money, but are transformed in some coins and you can use it. So this market in India is a huge one. Well, first of all, India is a huge market. It's absolutely a huge market. What I know specifically from this market, this is sometimes raise a lot of questions on Indian society because something is happening and people start to use these games as some kind of a So the gambling, because they want to gamble and they are using these games as some kind of a gamble. A huge amount of money are, people are spending in these games. So I understand from one side the Indian authorities that they want to regulate this. I don't understand honestly why they want to regulate by banning this, but who knows what will end. What's important thing and what shows it, what can it be extrapolated globally, is the fact that it proves the fragility of the fintech companies, fintech industry, in face of regulations. So one single regulation can destroy a good part of the business, a good part of the industry. This is why, fintech companies in European Union or in the North America, they all the time are investing money in to be aware from the beginning, to be aware what's happening in the government, what changes can happen, to have the information. So it's a very interesting thing what's happening.
Yeah, yeah, and maybe as you said, it's part of the negotiation because it's not in effect yet. And personally, I think certain things are not possible because if you're saying that you ban something and actually people are craving, and that's a part of nature, it cannot be vanished. It's like I don't know, banning the alcohol. We saw the Big Depression in the United States and it didn't work. So I'm not sure that technically it's even possible because people will change the tokens. I don't know, internal something countable, which can be treated as money. But let's see, because as you rightly said, as an example, when the regulator can affect the business in a huge way, and it's huge market with a lot of money, and let's see what is going to be the real results. So maybe we will come back in a few months with an update for this news. And thank you everyone for joining. We are looking forward to see you next week, which is going to be the last summer week, and after that, the full business season is on. So we're looking forward to have you back on our channel for more podcasts, for discussion, for what planted wrong, and definitely news. Thank you, Dumitru. Thank you, listeners.